So I finally picked up an enclosed trailer, been wanting one for quite a while. I'm going to be putting a few final touches on it in this video and making it mine. So I recently picked up this 12x6 ATC all aluminum trailer. It's 16 on center everything, and it's got a torsion axle. Those are some stabilizers you see there in the rear just for walking around and stuff. You can see some of my plate work there I used to better secure the E-track that I'm going to go over here in a moment. But yeah, I picked it up. And how long it's taken me to install E-track and wash and wax the trailer, make sure the wheel bearings are greased up, everything. I feel like they probably could have built a whole nother trailer. It took me that long, but we're gonna go over a few things that I just done with it. I went and I greased up the hubs during one of my downtimes, but this is one of my locks. It's a theft deterrent, not a theft preventative, but I like it, so. And the reason I went all aluminum is I hate rust and I hate corrosion. Big thing for me to have an all enclosed trailer was to keep road salt off my dirt bikes and stuff in the winter. But I didn't get it just for the sole purpose of dirt bikes. I want it to be multi-use, so I tried to keep that in mind. I haven't really done anything too special, but you can see it's got some automatic lights on here. Got these for about $30 off Amazon. They just pull down if you need to recharge it. So standard, the USB-C. It's got an on switch, off switch, nighttime only switch, and motion sensing too. So the first thing I did is I wanted to finish the interior of this trailer, because I've read people drive their snowmobiles up on this Advantech OSB and they never have any problems out of it. But you know, I wanted to do the best I could to keep it from getting all stained up and stuff. And now it is a 3/4 inch subfloor and the walls are 3/8. But I wanted to go ahead and finish up the floor so it doesn't get all stained up and stuff. So I went and got a couple quotes for like Rhino lining and Line-X. And the cheapest quote I got was $1,400. I was like, that's ridiculous. I don't even know if I'd line a truck bed, but so with that price tag, I had to find another alternative. And the most solid reviews I could find of any of the paints, the ones I had the most trust with, was this Insulex. This is what I use to paint and prime my subfloor. Sure Step and Insulex sticks. I got it off of Amazon. It was probably cost me about $100 in all. This is what I've spent on painting the floor. It seems pretty solid. Kids have been in here dragging their feet around. I don't see any paint coming up. The only spot where I knew I was taking a risk is I did freehand. I didn't tape off anything or anything like that. I ain't a professional painter, but I did paint that silicone and it flaking a little bit right there, but I don't know if we hit it with a wrench or something when we were working the E-track or what happened there, but it's definitely flaking off the silicone. But as you know, nothing's supposed to stick to silicone. Not even silicone's supposed to stick to silicone, but so yeah, I did E-track everywhere. This E-track came from DC Cargo. This E-track came from Harbor Freight because I didn't order enough from DC Cargo initially. This is from Harbor Freight as well. And the big difference here between DC Cargo and Harbor Freight is originally when I got the DC Cargo stuff, I was like, that's kind of a sloppy fit. But it works. And then I got to the other side of the extreme and look at this from Harbor Freight. It's not easily sliding in there. Now I can jam it in there with a little bit of muscle, so it's not an issue. See if I can fit it anywhere easily. Right there, it fits in easily. There we go. But that's a tighter fit, but it's not sloppy, but it's a little bit inconveniently tight, and that is the Harbor Freight E-track. Just keep that in mind. And the problem with why it's so tight, I think, is because it's just the torque of the bolts, and it's probably compressing the layer of paint down just a little bit, and that like 1/10 of a millimeter is probably what's making the difference. So these are my motorcycle cradles that just hold the front tire. I figure I can fit about 4 in here comfortably. So I do have more inside, but typically I'll only be carrying 1 or 2 at a time. This little 5-gallon bucket, this is gonna be my trash can. It's got a little lid on it. Let's see, it's stuck on there right now. Little 5-gallon bucket holder for when you're at the track or whatever. Maybe you're camping, you need a little trash can. Just pull it out. I got that off of E-Trailer. I also got the spare tire and wheel off E-Trailer. It actually came as a complete set. It was the exact same tire and wheel combo that came on this trailer. And I got a little E-Track spare wheel holder there. I've seen people on a Sunday, not tied into racing or anything, but I've seen people blowing out with a tire on the interstate. And it can take, you know, half a day, whole day to get that fixed because there ain't a lot of places open Sunday. So having a spare tire and wheel is pretty essential if you're going to be using a trailer more than just commuting across town. So I got a spare tire and wheel there. But yeah, so I mean, all my wall stuff, I hit studs. They're not self-tapping. I drilled my own holes and just used sheet metal screws. I don't have a whole lot of depth to work with. I think it's probably about 1 inch, but I didn't feel like I wanted to waste like a 1/6 of an inch. I didn't want to waste like a 1/6 of an inch of space with that self-drilling part of a self-tapper screw. I felt like I had some valuable real estate with the depth, so I decided I would pre-drill my own holes and just use a sheet metal screw. The threads seem to have the same profile as the self-drillers without the drilling point at the end, so it took me a lot longer, maybe a little unnecessary. I think it made a lot cleaner installation in the end, and I was initially worried about maybe stripping out, you know, it's just aluminum. People think, oh, it's soft. Well, I had the threads down here. Apparently the wall thickness on the floor, even though they look to be about the same tube dimensions, I think the wall thickness is thicker on the floor because I actually snapped one of these bolt heads off here because I couldn't get the threads to self-thread into the tubing, just like I did with all the walls. The floor, I couldn't do it because I think the wall thickness was greater. So I did actually end up snapping a head off a bolt. I have never stripped any threads in any of this aluminum tubing, but I did snap a head off a bolt. Just keep that in mind. I did use number 12 screws on everything that would be considered self-tapping. I could really use a number 14, but I wanted to have a little bit of leeway in case I were to strip threads out. I could just size it up to a number 14. And I still probably can do that, I think, if I wanted to, but I think number 12 is going to be just fine. All my gold bolts here, they're grade 8. They're grade 8. The single pairs right here, those are going through frame members. Stuff like this, that's bolted to the back of the plywood with like a reinforcing plate that I made. That's a backing plate, like galvanized or zinc plated steel. That's on a frame member. That's a plate. That's on a frame member, but that's just self-tappers. That's on a plate. That's on a frame member plate. That's going through a frame, going through the frame member. I think those are like 2x2s. So when I had a 2x2, I would just do straight through the frame. But I really wasn't comfortable with putting a whole lot of holes in the floor. I mean, look at what I did, and I still put a whole lot of holes in the floor, but tried to minimize what I could. And actually on all these grade 8, they're 1/4-inch bolts. I actually pre-drilled all the holes going through the OSB. It is drilled one drill bit size down from 1/4-inch. So it's kind of it was kind of a tight squeeze pushing it through. I just spun it into place, but that should mean that the OSB is kind of hugging the bolt and keeping that watertight seal, because the trailer is watertight. So yeah, there it is. We'll take a quick look underneath. So you can see there I've cut my own aluminum brace there. I couldn't really work with these plates because of this kind of being in the way. You can see a self-tapper screw right, well, not a self-tapper, you can see my sheet metal screw barely poking through right there. It was just enough to grab. It was 1 1/4 inch sheet metal screw. And then here, those are your standard E-track plates. Then here's those ones where actually the only 2x2 cross members where I put the aluminum plate on the back side of the frame. And the reason I did that is because I don't want the bolts to bend any of the framing on the trailer, so I got that backing plate on there to kind of help reinforce everything. And I did that all throughout. Like right there you don't see bolts, but there's self-tappers on the top side. But I just wanted everything to be tough. So there's your torsion axle. Yeah, that's about it. And I got a few little clips of me kind of doing it along in the process, and I'll show you a little bit. And those are nylon lock nuts too. Those are nylon lock nuts. I forgot to mention that. Don't want the stuff vibrating off going down the road, so I have all nylon lock nuts on the underside of these grade 8 1/4 inch bolts. But yeah, I got a little bit of video of me painting and installing the E-track, so let's see what I got, and we'll put it together in a little video. Ooh. Here you're going to see me using digital calipers to determine exactly what diameter of drill bit I want to use. Interesting fact is the drill bit I used for the wall of the trailer, for the self-tapping screws I'll call them, the drill bit diameter I used for the walls was actually one size smaller than what I ended up having to use for the floor. I think the floor wall thickness tubing was a little bit thicker, so I had to give a little bit more of a area for the threads to tap into. Here's a little video of me cutting it. Now you could use an angle grinder for this, but I had this old metal cut-off blade from an old project long ago, so I figured why not get the straightest cut possible. Use a little file, clean the edges up. Nobody needs to be cutting themselves on the edge of a poorly finished E-track cut. Here in this, I'm just mounting it up against the wall. Looking here, you see me mounting the sheet metal screws using a drill. After I snapped one off on the floor, I start deciding to hand drive all of them. No more using a drill after snapping that one. That was a real headache pulling that out. But I got it done. Now I torqued every E-track bolt, including my grade 8 bolts that I'm going to go over soon. I torqued them all to 55 inch-pounds, which is similar to what you would torque like an M6 bolt on an engine. 55 is actually a little low for an M6, but it's the torque I like. Here I am sweeping out the trailer, getting it ready for some paint. Now I chose this Insulex primer. I'm going to put 2 coats on it. I went ahead and did all my edges first just with a freehand brush, since a roller can't really, get the edges. I think I did pretty good. And yes, I am wearing socks. I figure shoes would put dirt on the surface of the trailer, and you can't go barefoot because you got foot oils, so that sounds gross, but skin has oil on it. And I wanted my my surface to be as uncontaminated as possible. We're already on primer day 2 on my second coat. And now it's time for the final paint step, the anti-slip coating. Here in this video I have this little clip in here. I just really wanted to show you how thick it was. If I had the chance to redo it all again, I would have brushed this coat on, because the nooks and crannies, I'm using a 1/2 inch roller. It didn't get into all the nooks and crannies like the brush did. And I actually ended up doing a 3rd coat with the brush just so I could fill in all those tiny little places the bristles could get that a roller couldn't. even with a thick coating, I still wasn't able to get in with the roller in some of the areas. Here we go with the paint day 1. And then here's the second day. I put on second one, and then I realized there's still a few areas that the roller missed, so I ran through it real quick with a bristle and hand painted the whole floor. Got a couple things here. Here's my favorite thing is my magnets. I used the magnet to help find the studs. It was a surefire way to know where the edges of the studs were, and you can see me moving it around there. Also in the background you'll see the level. When you're drilling, you want to make sure you're drilling straight down, and when you're drilling straight down, it's important that what you're drilling through is level. That way everything is squared up. But yeah, we're walking through the magnet function here. Just had some neodymium magnets sitting around that could put into some good use. Just drilling through the trailer floor here. I actually had to go to the home improvement store and buy an extra long extended drill bit just to make it all the way through the 2-inch frame member stacked on top of the 3/4 inch OSB. Here's the finished result. I was really satisfied with how close to center I got that. And here we are about over halfway through the process. I didn't video a whole lot of me installing the floor. I think we get the gist of it. It was a real headache. I'm using so many different links and size of the bolts. And the real hard part about tightening some of these grade 8 bolts down is you need a helper. It helps to have a helping hand to hold the top side while you're torquing down the bottom side nuts. So as you can see, my daughter here is learning the tools. She did well. She did well. Here's the finished product. I'm really happy with it. If you're curious how the floor plane's holding up, throw me a comment. You can also subscribe to the channel if you want. If I get enough comments, I might do a follow-up video in a year or so, see how everything's working out. If anybody has any ideas for how to hold folding chairs or umbrellas, I would love like an E-track accessory to hold folding chairs and umbrellas seamlessly. I wasn't able to figure it out. So if you got any ideas, let me know.